Matt, are
Okay.
you handling the video? Okay.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of Assembly Bill 361, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should mute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice for public comment guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Thank you. Very efficiently done. Next is the roll call. Christina, would you please call the roll? Oh, you're on mute.
My apologies. Commissioner Kelly,
Present.
Commissioner Mitchoff,
Here.
Commissioner White, Vice Chair Hudson,
Here.
and Chair Haskew.
Here.
Okay.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Have we received any public comment by written?
We've received no public comment.
No public comment. And I don't see any hands going up for live public comment. So we will move on to the next item, which is the consent calendar. Are there any changes or comments from the committee? So,
Move consent, Hudson.
A second, Kelly.
okie dokie. Is there any public comment? Don't see anybody to make it. So that being the case, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Yeah, yes, I'm sorry. Who motioned?
Hudson.
Hudson.
Okie dokie.
Thank you
And you got Kelly for the second?
for the second. Yes. So
Okay.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchoff,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hudson,
Yes.
and Chair Haskew.
Yes.
So the motion passes with members present.
Oh, super. Now we are moving to our regular agenda items. The first item is for action is an authorization to enter into an MOU between the cities of Antioch, Hercules, Martinez, and Pittsburgh, Contra Costa County, Eastern Contra Costa Transit Authority, and the authority to advance and planning and studies to evaluate the feasibility of expanded ferry service in the county. And I believe we're going to hear from Ying Smith. Is that fair?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Chair Haskew and commissioners. It's my pleasure to present at this committee for the first time. And I have a very brief presentation for you. And I'm going to share my screen. So this is a presentation on the Memorandum of Understanding to conduct a feasibility study for ferry expansion service. Let me make sure it's in presentation mode. Here we go. So before we talk about the MOU itself, I just would like to highlight a very brief history of ferry study in Contra Costa County and some related studies. In 2014, CCTA completed a financial feasibility of Contra Costa County ferry service. The study concluded that the Richmond service meets the financial, the operational structure that we have set up. The study also identified 3 other routes that require further evaluation for expansion. So the Richmond service has been got a lot of attention. It started in January 2019, and after the suspension due to COVID, it was resumed in June 2020. The ridership of the Richmond service showed the strongest percentage increase among all the routes in the meter system. And for back to this MOU itself, over the past years, the parties, including the county, cities of Antioch, Hercules, Martinez, and Pittsburgh, and as well as Tri-Delta Transit and CCTA, have been discussing options for ferry service expansion in the county along the northern and northwestern waterfront. The MOU is a result of strong leadership by the CCTA commissioners and other elected officials representing the county, the cities, and Tri-Delta Transit. The parties agreed to the financial contribution and the goals of this study. CCTA staff and consultants have played an active role in facilitating the discussion. The parties have determined that increasing transit options in the county will promote economic development, create jobs, provide additional emergency response alternative, and support congestion relief. The MOU identified the goals and responsibilities, and the details are in the draft MOU in your agenda packet. This is a true partnership among the parties. You would like to highlight this major task and deliverables the party expect from the feasibility study. So in summary, staff recommendation is to authorize entering into the MOU. The city of Antioch and the county have taken actions in the last couple of weeks to authorize the MOU. Other cities also scheduled this item in the November City Council agenda for the council's consideration. If the CCTA board authorizes this MOU, staff plan to begin the study in early next year and complete it by the end of next year. This concludes my presentation, and staff is here to answer your questions.
Thank you very much for that. I see a hand up from Dave Hudson, please.
Yeah, the study, is that going to include another, what do you call those things, ferries? I mean, we've got what's running through Richmond. Will we have to expand on the number? Okay, that answers, that's an affirmative.
Okay. Chris, would you please ask your question?
Yeah, it's not so much a question, it's a statement. So I've talked with Federal about this and also Lamar about this. You know, the northern waterfront cities are really interested in ferry service. I've also talked with Seamus Murphy, and if something like this eventually gets going, Dave, it won't be the really big ferries. We'd probably start with something smaller, you know, like the Tideliner prop ferries, the shallow draft ferries. But people in our cities, and I'm including Hercules, really have an interest in the ferry, you know, and kind of water taxiing between the different series, and then maybe going over to Richmond, eventually to San Francisco. And who knows, someday, if we're lucky, maybe over to Marin, you know, as the freeways continue to be more and more jammed and people are reluctant to take other kinds of public transportation. So the cities that are participating in this are very, very excited about this study.
My concern was going after a grant for a hydrogen ferry. They're out there.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. And WITA knows a lot about that.
Okay. Karen, do you have your hand up?
Well, and I appreciate Chris's comments. I was looking at the scope of work. I don't have a problem looking at ferries for Hercules and Martinez, but I remember back being on this, the authority that, and things will change and maybe, but Antioch, it was going to be, of course, I don't know what BART is these days, but it was going to be almost $10 each way. And it was almost a 2-hour ride, which sort of defeats it. I mean, I'll vote to support this, but I'm hoping, and I'm sorry, Ying, if I missed it, if the scope of work includes looking at revenue, what the box would be, it is. Tim's shaking his head. Okay, fine. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, my only comment is I grew up in Staten Island, New York, and it is famous for its ferry. And my father courted my mother by getting up every morning and riding the ferry with her. So it is near and dear to my heart. There will be romantic stories and other stories from ferries. So I would like to have a motion if we have no other. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to check for public comment. Got a little lazy there. Are we having any at all?
We have not received any public comment on my end.
Okay, and I'm not seeing anybody who's interested raising their hand. So, all right, may I have a motion, please?
So I will move the item.
All righty, and may I have a second?
Okay,
All right, that was Dave. All right, then we need a roll call vote to make it official.
Yes, Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchoff,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hudson,
yes,
and Chair Haskew.
Yes,
All right, the motion passes with the members present.
thank you. The next item on the agenda is an update on MTC's draft CTP guidelines, and I believe Matt is going to make that presentation.
Yes, thank you, Chair Haskew. Good evening, committee members. Matt Kelly, with CCTA. The 9 counties in the Bay Area all prepare countywide transportation plans, including CCTA. As you probably know, we're about to get started with our own update. Each county is either required to prepare a plan either as part of its congestion management agency status, or like CCTA, it's required under their sales tax measure. Periodically, MTC prepares guidance and issues guidance on preparation of CTPs for the 9 Bay Area counties. And the last time they updated this was in 2013. So it was good that they are updating it. And they've been working on this for about 6 months or so. And they've been reaching out to us, both staff to staff and through the Bay Area CTA Planning Directors Group. So we've been going back and forth with MTC a lot on these guidelines to make sure we're comfortable with them at CCTA, and that the other counties were comfortable as well. But I just want to walk you through the proposed guidelines and focus on the changes. So they've updated their guidance on public outreach. As all CTPs are supposed to include public outreach. Really, all they've done there is update their references to best practices, and we already do a robust public outreach as part of our CTP. They're trying to increase coordination between the CMAs or the counties and MTC staff, just discussing more on timing of CTP updates, so everybody understands what the other is doing. And I'm just going to share my screen for a moment, and I just wanted to highlight the major revisions and new additions to this guidance. So the revisions they are proposing are to, well, like I said, they updated the guidance for public outreach. and expanded the coordination. And then they wanted to focus on equity. Equity has always been a part of CTPs, but they wanted to, instead of just having an equity section, their guidance is that equity be kind of spread throughout the CTPs. And that's the direction CCTA has been going as well in the action plans and in the preliminary scoping for the next CTP, as well as our previous CTP, the 2017 CTP. We really incorporated equity into that. Let's see, the proposed additions, and these are additions to MTC's guidance. However, there are things that CCTA was already doing as part of our countywide plan. So that's forecasting the outcomes using our travel demand model, so we can see what the projects or programs will do in the future. To really support implementation of Plan Bay Area. That was one of the major focuses from MTC on this update, was to really strengthen that tie between the county CTPs and the RTP. So how the CTPs can help implement the policies and strategies of Plan Bay Area. And then to prioritize the investments that are in the CTPs, and they say that it should be done using a 10-year forecast. And in our last CTP, the 2017 CTP, we for the first time had a 10-year and 20-year prioritized list of projects. So something we're already doing. So this is why we support the changes to the guidelines, because they just kind of reinforce what we're already doing. We want to be consistent with MTC and Plan Bay Area. So we think the guidelines are going in a good direction. Just so you know, the draft guidelines are going to the MTC ABAG Joint Planning Committee this Friday for adoption later this month. And then these guidelines would really be, so MTC is not planning what they call a major update to Plan Bay Area until 2029. The 2025 update will be what they call a minor update. So this is really, these changes to the guidelines are meant to guide the next major update, which isn't until 2029. We may have done, I'm not going to promise anything, but we may have done 2 CTPs in that amount of time. Since we are starting our next CTP the end of this year, early next year, we do qualify for this new guidance, which is fine. We will do our CTP according to this guidance. But if you have any comments that we could, either quickly relay to MTC or that our representatives could bring up on Friday, we'd be happy to entertain that today, but I can certainly take any questions you might have.
Righty, I'm looking for hands or questions. I'm seeing none. Oh, yes, I am. Commissioner Hudson, please.
Yeah, I would concur with Matt. It's probably not going to be a big review for transportation in 2025, but anybody here that thinks it's not going to be a big, I have a feeling it's going to be a big review for the RENA numbers. So just for the people that are here, know that this thing is not going to just pass by another day in the week. There's a reason they moved the review up to 2025. So that's it for me. I
Okay,
go back to sleep.
Okay, anybody else have any comments, questions? Checking for public comment, if there is any public comment.
I've received no public comment.
All righty, this is an informational statement only, so we'll just say thank you for the information and move on. So the next item on the agenda would be correspondence and communications. Anybody got anything they want to share? Not seeing any.
Happy Halloween.
Say what?
Happy Halloween.
Oh, late. But we're still eating the candy. Then commissioners' comments and reports, if there are any. Staff comments or reports, Tim?
None this evening, Chair. Thank you.
All right, so it doesn't look like we're anxiously trying to close the meeting. Are there any other business items to be discussed? Not seeing a whole lot of enthusiasm on that. Then I now declare the meeting adjourned. The next meeting is proposed for December 7th, 2020 at 6 o'clock,
2022, dear.
2022.
We don't want to
Okay.
go back to 2020.
No, I don't either. I have a lot of
Amen on that.
reasons. Yeah,
Karen,
yeah.
are you really that short that you're paying attention?
Well, she said 2020. And the
I
only
did say 2020. It's
reason I'm saying
there's
that
a
is
lot
that
of twos
we were in
here.
the middle of COVID.
okay. So if we